breakdown, baby.
This isn't the biggest bag over the head punch in the face I ever Gundamn it! Son.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Gundamn at MAHQ. This time we're going to be starting off our first discussion of Super Robot Wars. It's been requested by fans, and to join us in this discussion we've got Peter Lalibert, who is reviewing Super Robot Wars and writing profiles for the series. You also know him on the forums as Destiny Gundam, so say hello, Peter.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
What's up?
Just know my last name is La Liberty. Not whatever you said it. Everybody pronounces it wrong though.
Well, La Liberty, you said?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll make sure to.
It's supposed to be French, but we're not French, so we just use an Anglified version of it.
Oh hell, you're just Destiny Gundam to me.
That works too.
It's probably easier.
Whatever. So this time we're going to start off by focusing on original generation. So for those who really aren't familiar with Super Robot Wars, briefly it started off back in 1991 as a strategy RPG series, sort of like a mashup of Gundam and Macross and all these other robot franchises. But pretty much since the beginning they've been creating original characters and mecha, which are so creatively named the Banpresto Originals.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they started making games that just had original characters, and one of the more well-known ones is the Original Generation series, which had a couple of sequels and remakes and its own anime. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So since you reviewed most of the TV anime Divine Wars, Peter, give us a brief rundown about the show and your thoughts on it and how it differs from Original Generation 1, the game that it's based on.
Okay, well, the basic plot premise is that it's the space era, which normally they tend to change their calendars whenever they move into space. And they have space colonies and all that stuff, but generally they haven't advanced that much because they got slammed with two meteors in the past. One hit New York and the other hit Moscow, I believe it was.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So they're more technically declined than what they normally should have been.
Right.
But then a third meteor comes and hits on this island called Iodinius Island, and it's in the Marquise Island. I'm not quite sure where that is. Anyways, the weird thing about that meteor is that it actually slowed down before it hit us, so it wasn't that damaging.
Right.
And they studied it, and they found that it was actually artificial, and that it had what they call extra over technology, which is highly advanced alien technology, way beyond anything that we could ever make ourselves.
Kind of like over technology from Macross.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same basic premise, except it's a meteorite instead of a spaceship.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So they infer from there that they got giant robots, so we should probably be making our own giant robots to counter them. So that's what we do, and the personal trooper, or PTs as they're called, is what resulted in that. So that's their giant robots there. And the first one was the Gespenst, which is German for ghost. And so they're developing all this stuff, and the story kicks off with Ryuusei Dat. He's a Japanese guy, and he's a huge Super Robot fanboy. So robots are his life, or as he says, robots are a man's passion.
Heck yeah.
That's the line he constantly says.
Yeah.
Hey, it works for me.
I concur.
So he entered this tournament called Burning PT, which is like a mech simulator that you play in an arcade and tournaments and stuff. So him and his friend Kusa Mizuha, who's his classmate there, they go to this tournament where Ryuusei gets into the finals. Mm-hmm. And this is more or less like the first major change there is that there's this other guy named Tenzin Nakajima, who's also this big
Biggest
hardcore
dick
gamer.
of them all.
Yeah,
I hate that guy's such a dick.
Oh man.
He's pretty. So
no, seriously, because That guy Tenzin, he's like that guy that you're playing, like, you know, say Call of Duty 4 with or something else. It's like he like snipes you from behind, and then like he comes and like teabags your dead body while you're respawning.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, haha, I pwned you. He's that kind of guy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of guy.
That's
We
a
all
new
hate that
level of
guy.
hate, man. He's the Biff to the main character's Marty McFly. Nice.
You
nice.
used a Back to the Future reference.
Hey, man, that's how nerdy I am.
That's funny. Biff Tannen.
So anyway, in the anime, Tenzin was actually at the tournament, and he kicked Ryusei's ass in the finals. But in the original Game Boy Advance game, he didn't show up, so Ryusei won. So this was changed in Original Generations, which is the PS2 remake. They added Tenzin in there, so canonically now, Tenzin did kick Ryusei's ass in the finals there. And so Ryusei takes that pretty hard because it was going to be his last big tournament there because his mother is hospitalized, so he needed to focus on paying her bills. So earlier they had visited her, and he said he wasn't going to go to college, but she kind of talked him out of it and told him that he should worry about his own future and do what he can do. So anyway, so Ryusei's pretty bummed there, but he has, like, Crusaders there with him, and all of a sudden, big explosion happens, and this giant robotic bug crashes into the stadium. And so while they're running for their lives, as most people would do, Kusada gets trapped under some rubble. So he tries to help her, but she tells him, like, to go on and whatnot. But luckily, or unluckily, whichever way you look at it, Ryusei was being monitored by this guy named Ingram Pliskin and his subordinate there, Aya Kobayashi. And Ingram has a Gespenst Mark II type PT sent out for Ryusei to pilot, just to test him because he has, like, psychic powers. Not unlike new types, but it's more on a, this is just some special abilities some people have and nothing more than that. So the type TT, which stands for T-Link type, I think, or something like that. T-Link is their, like, Psycommu system.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. That definitely makes sense.
Yeah, so Ryusei gets into the Gespenst there, and he fights the bugs, but he manages to destroy one, but the rest swarm him, and he kind of can't handle it because he's just some kid who got thrown into a giant robot.
Oh my gosh.
Where have I heard that one before?
That's a new twist.
So coincidentally, the cockpit system of the Gespenst is exactly the same as it is for the video game that he was playing. So
Where have I heard that one before, too?
No way.
Sweet.
Oh my god. I've never heard that before. Were the keys left in the mech too?
No, there wasn't any keys, but yeah, he just kind of activated it like he did in the game. So he's like, oh, hey, it's just like the game.
I wonder.
Push button start.
Wait, is the game a training simulator for the real thing? Ho ho ho!
Gee, I wonder.
Well, hello, Macross Frontier.
At least it's got a better name than Hard On.
Ouch. Ouch.
Another thing that I thought was interesting was that when Ryusei first gets into the Gespenst, like, the bug slams into him and, like, takes him up into the air and drops him into the ground, and he actually, like, pukes all over his cockpit.
Oh,
great.
Now that is new.
I forgot about that.
So, like, he's not in the pilot suit or anything, so the G-forces are bound to get some sort of reaction like that out of him. So anyways, he gets surrounded, and that's when the first episode ends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next episode, he gets bailed out by this experienced pilot guy named Kai Kitamura and his Gespenst troops, and they take out the bugs. But Ryusei manages to use a T-Link Ripper, which is pretty much this psychically guided buzzsaw that you fire out and cut stuff up. So he managed to do that, and, like, everybody's surprised, like, oh, he managed to do that on his first try? Kind of thing. So afterwards, he gets arrested for using military hardware without, like, being a civilian, right? So he's given an ultimatum to either, like, go to jail or join the military. So kind of no-brainer here, he joins the military, but he makes it so the stipulation is that the military will pay all his mother's hospital bills.
That's cool.
So he at least gets something out of it. And it's not really like he's against the idea, right? Piloting a giant robot. So that kicks things off, and so you see him, like, training to become a better pilot, but he's hot-headed, so he runs out and he gets his ass kicked by a bunch of tanks.
Wait, tanks?
Yeah, tanks.
Hot blood only works so far.
Oh, snap. He's got a long way to go then.
Yeah. So he just rushed in, but the tanks had, like, better strategy and stuff, so he easily got his ass whooped. And then afterwards he gets, like, beat up by some of the tanks pilots.
Insult to injury.
Yeah, but his other teammate, Ryuusei Brainstein, some German name like that.
Brainstein?
Brandstein or something like that.
First there's Pliskin, Brainstein, and Pliskin, man. Pliskin. I held my tongue on Pliskin.
Yeah. Is there a box?
Now that's a cool ass last name.
Is there a box around?
But Brainstein, I gotta watch the show. I really do though. I've been seeing it up for a long time, and
I saw the first.
Do you have like $40 or $50 to spare per volume?
No.
Like you, Chris, I will wait for the bargain bin.
Yeah.
I'll wait for the Amazon blowout or the blowout at Right Stuff.
It was online, but I don't think I saw it anymore.
It stopped at episode 20. But
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's just what I heard.
But we support the real versions of products here, so
Right.
And I mean that seriously. Yes, Peter, for the record, is actually buying the DVDs.
Yes, I am. But I'm not stupid enough to buy them at full price. I'm getting bargains. Like if you pre-order stuff from Right Stuff, you get like $12 off. So
Well played, Canadian. Well played.
yeah, our money's worth more than yours is too. So.
That's a nice jab. I will think of a counter someday.
Anyway, back to
Back on topic here. So Rai, he's pretty young, but he's experienced, and his family is a prestigious military family. So he's got a lot going up behind him. Like, so he's the one that usually tells Ryuusei he's being an idiot and he's gonna get himself killed, and generally being a jerk to him, but kind of rightfully so.
Yeah, Ryuusei really was a jerk at the beginning.
Yeah.
He didn't get it.
So is he more of a real robot pilot, while the main character is a super robot pilot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you have Aya in there too. She's the standard hot and busty commanding officer there.
Nice.
That's a new twist.
But she's a really nice lady though. So.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of funny because when Rai was introduced, Ryuusei goes, "Oh, now we got the woman, and now we got the cool playboy type." how cliche is that? And the other two didn't know what he was talking about.
Not at all.
So anyways, the three of them are put into a team called the SRX team, and Ryuusei wonders what that stands for, but they say, "Oh, you'll figure it out later."
Well, since we've gone into the anime a little bit, how about the games? From your impressions of playing the games, which one do you think is the best? The one you've had the most fun playing in the series?
I played Original Generation 1 and Original Generation 2. The Atlas released them in English over here on the Game Boy Advance, so I played those two.
Right.
And of the two, OG2 is by far superior in every single aspect to OG1. Better graphics, better storylines, better mechs, better characters.
Right.
It's like OG1 had all, like, it was pretty awesome too, but like OG2 just added so much onto it and made it so much better.
Wow. Is it a direct continuation of part one?
There's
or is it kind of
6 months
generational?
between
It is? Okay,
OG1
cool.
and OG2.
So you get to see a lot of the same faces from 1 to 2.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Okay.
Divine Crusaders are this group formed from the EOTI, which is the Extra Over Technology Investigation Institute. They're like the foremost, like they know most of what there is to know about the extra over technology than anybody else. They started a rebellion against the Earth Federation there, and it's because in Antarctica the Earth Federation had a meeting with the Arrogators, or rather they weren't the Arrogators, they were the guests, as they made sure to point out that they were called. And it turns out that they were actually it was under the guise of peace talks, but it was actually the Earth Federation higher ups trying to sell out the human race so they would save their own hides when the aliens invaded.
Oh, wow.
Bien Zoldark, the leader of the Divine Crusaders, he's like, "Nuh-uh, not gonna let that happen." So he has one of his right-hand men, Shu Shirakawa, who's like the awesome. I have so much respect for that guy. He has this mech called the Grandson, which is like super powerful, like hucks black holes at people and stuff like that.
Super powerful.
It's got an AI that can handle like over 60,000 enemies at once or something like that.
What?
And Shu built the entire thing pretty much by himself and used like 3/4 of the Divine Crusaders budget to make it.
Oh, nice.
Oh my god.
So anyways, he was there in Antarctica, and he attacked the alien ship and caused everybody to get into this fight and like pretty much kicked everybody's ass from like the guests to the Earth Federation, and he handily took out Rai, Aya, and Ryuusei pretty much at the same time. But then the first Banpresso original ever, who's Masaki Ando, and his robot called Buster show up and stop Shu because he's got a personal vendetta against him. So they clash for a bit, but Shu just kind of smirks at him and is like, okay, I've had enough fun here, and he just leaves.
Right.
So that starts the Divine Crusader War, which is where they get the Divine Wars from.
Right. Well, wait a minute. The Lord of Elemental, does that have any role in Super Robot Wars OG at all?
Yeah, Buster is from the Lord of Elemental.
Okay.
So is Shu, but so far those are the only two who that are related to that storyline.
Okay, cool.
Well, there's Loon Zoldak too, but she first showed up in Super Robot Wars 3, so not in the Lord of Elemental games.
Because in one of the SRW games, I remember Lord of Elemental was in it, and I didn't realize it was a Banpresto original. I always thought it was an actual. I thought it was a show, but it was the original from Banpresto, and it became a show afterwards.
Yeah, it became a show afterwards, which I also reviewed.
Right.
Anyway, so Bien, he doesn't like how he loves the Earth, so he didn't approve of the idea of selling it out to save somebody's hide. So he basically started a war to overthrow the corrupt Federation government there and protect the world from the Arrogators. So they have this mass-produced mecha called the Lion, and it can fly on its own in the atmosphere. It's low cost. It's got high maneuverability. It's pretty much really. It's rather balanced and
better than the Gespenst, because the armored modules are all very advanced and very powerful compared to the personal troopers.
Okay.
Right, because they're made by the people who understand this alien technology the best, right? So
yeah,
and the Gespenst themselves never saw that much mass production, so there's not that many around.
Right.
So anyway, so they get swarmed by the Lions, and pretty much they're losing one base after another. So the only thing they can do is they got this super powerful battleship called the Hagane, which is a Space Noah class ship. And so they send that out to strike DC's headquarters on Idania's Island there. So Ryuusei joins that ship there, and they head out.
Right.
So here's where another major change from the game comes, is that before they reach Idania's Island, they go up into space to help out the ATX team, which is the other main characters, and their battleship, the Huru Custom. And they're fighting the United Colony Corps, which is the colony military, and they're backing up the DC.
Oh, wow.
And the leader of that is actually Rai's father, and his brother's also fighting with them.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so Rai's not too fond of his father or his brother, because
family ties being broken.
This is explained more in OG2, but Elzem was forced to kill his own wife to save a colony from being gassed.
Wow.
And Rai kind of had like a boyish crush on his sister-in-law, so he never forgave his brother for killing her.
Wow, that's pretty deep right there.
Yeah. So the SRX team and the ATX team hook up. In the game, though, this came after the Divine War, because it actually started out with the R1, which is Ryusei's like upgraded his main mech that he's test piloting, versus the Alt Aizen, which is Kyosuke Nambu, who's the other main character. His mech, which is this big bulky red thing that can barely stand on its own.
But has lots of cool weapons.
Yeah, it's got lots of cool weapons, and Kyosuke's just that badass that he can pilot this thing and nobody else can.
Right.
So anyways, they actually fought in the game, and depending on whoever route you took, because at the beginning of the game you can choose to be Kyosuke or Ryusei.
And the story's very different between the two of them, at least in the beginning.
The first half is, the stories are the same, but it's just that they're running parallel to each other within the same timeline. So like while Ryusei's off on the Hagane, Kyosuke's off on the Kai, and that they both coexist in the same universe. Like, they don't overlap and they don't retcon each other at all. It's just later in the game there are some differences. Anyway, so in the anime there, they hook up and they take out the United Colony Corps while they're entering the atmosphere. And they also fight Zanger Zombolt, who's a fan favorite here. He was actually Kyosuke's team leader, but he defected to the Divine Crusaders.
And he carries a big-ass sword.
Oh.
Yeah, he has a big-ass sword, and his trademark is, "My name is Zanger Zombolt. I'm the sword that cleaves evil."
All right.
Nice.
Sure enough, he cleaves things all right. So when they fight him, and in the game, that was a big thing where he was a traitor, and everybody's all like, "Oh no, how dare you betray us," and stuff like that. And so after Rai's dad gets killed, the two ships go down to Earth to, or no, just the Gane does, but the Hiru gives it all of its mechs to beforehand. So they go to Idanius, and they face off against Bien in his Valzion, which is the DC ultimate weapon. Though it's probably
nasty thing.
yeah, though it's probably weaker than the Granzon, but it's still pretty powerful. He takes out some of them, though he doesn't actually kill them. Or it's just the one guy. His name's Brooklyn Luxfield. So everybody calls him Bullet.
Brooklyn.
Top of the food chain.
So he kind of charged in with his Gespenst against this huge-ass Valzion here, and he just gets blasted away like it was nothing. So his mech was just trash, but he was fine. He was in the hospital for the next few episodes. But so they basically can't touch him because he has this barrier on him. But
right.
Ingram there, he's the leader, so he comes out with this strategy that's pretty reckless. But as he said, the possibility isn't zero. So they all combine and they break through the barrier, and then Misaki gets a killing blow in with his Psybuster, and that's the end of Bien there.
After he gives his special speech, though, before dying.
Yeah, he walks off into the sunset as he recites this poem.
And then he blows up.
Nice.
Then he blows up. But Bien was really a great man, though, because one of his goals was actually, it was either the Divine Crusaders would win and take over and they'd be able to defend Earth from the aliens, or the Divine Wars would make the Earth Federation realize that they're being stupid and they have to, it kind of got them ready for the impending alien invasion. So Bien just wanted to save the Earth even if he had to become evil to do so. So it's a personal sacrifice on his part, and I can't help but respect the guy for that.
So he's justified in what he did.
That's true.
Let's quickly wrap up the Arrogator so that we can get to the OAV.
All right.
Well, after Bien was died, he had this Adler guy who was being an asshole, so they killed him later. But the Arrogators, they show up on Earth with this giant planetoid called Nevim, or Nevim, or however you pronounce it. And they're there and they start abducting people, like soldiers mostly, or entirely. So, and then Ingram betrays everybody. It turns out that he was an Arrogator spy all along, and he was manipulating everybody to make them good samples. So he basically wanted to abduct everybody, brainwash them, and turn them into Arrogator soldiers. So he betrays them. He shoots down Aya there, who had a crush on him. So she was pretty hard hit by that. And then he kidnaps Kusaha, who became a mech pilot because she also has some psychic powers. And so they were all pretty bummed after that. But then the SRX team was put under investigation because, your leader guy was a traitor, so we have to investigate you, make sure you aren't going to turn code on us at any time. And at that point, they all had their R-series machines. Ryuusei has the R1, Rai has the R2, and Aya has the R3. And they all combined into one giant robot called the SRX, or Super Robot X. But the one time they tried it, they failed. They couldn't combine properly, and that's when Ingram betrayed them.
Oh, man.
So here's where it also differs from the game, is that the game, the Arrogator conflict, was far more drawn out, and Tenzin, who was killed at end of the Divine Crusaders War, he actually came back originally as an Arrogator puppet called Gaza Hagingner or something like that, so you get to kill him again. So it's basically just kind of filler stuff where it's just your ships are going around and then you get attacked by Arrogators and then you beat them and then you just go on to the next mission kind of thing. Because originally they gave Earth 30 days to surrender to them, and they're all like, oh, why are they giving us 30 days? It's almost like they want us to mount a counterattack against them. So the anime just jumps into Operation SRW. Ryuusei wonders what that means.
And the answer is?
Excellent thinks it's sexy romance weapon. Okay. So she's the goofball, so she's always cracking jokes. So she suggests that SRW means sexy romance weapon. Bullet's like, what? Does it seduce the enemy? No, they don't actually outright say it, but it's clear that it stands for Super Robot Wars. Ryuusei actually says that, isn't it obvious it means Super Robot Wars? And everybody's like, that's just stupid.
I'm glad they break the fourth wall in that show.
This is known as the L5 campaign because Nevim showed up at Lagrange Point 5. So they go and they attack, and this leads into episode 25 of the anime, which was just wall-to-wall awesomeness in every facet. And so they're basically just all the Earth's forces combined together fighting these aliens who have their bugs, and they also have their humanoid mecha and stuff like that. Ingram shows up. He's in the R-Gun, which is another one of the R-series that turns into a giant gun. And
the nice name, Metal Genocider.
Yeah.
when it's in gun mode. That's a great name. So since we're almost at the end of Divine Wars, tell us about the Die SRX, because that was like big news when it came out, and that's another big difference from the game.
Yeah, it's for anybody who's played Alpha 3, they are familiar with it. They know who Cobra Gordon is, and he's this clone of Ingram from an alternate dimension.
Right.
And he's known as the Time Diver, which is somebody who hops around from world to world and just makes sure everything's going properly. Like, make sure everything's the way it's supposed to be and make sure events that are supposed to happen.
Right.
So when they defeat Ingram, who had this upgraded Argon Rival, who was this evil-looking mech there, and they beat him, and the SRX got pretty trashed in the fight. And then against Judecca, which is like the main, it was the core of Nevim, which was piloted by this chick named Levi Tolar, who was actually Mai Kobayashi and is Aya's sister. But she was kidnapped by Ingram a while ago and brainwashed.
Mm-hmm.
And so after her Judecca is defeated, this failsafe device kicks in Meteor 3, you know, the thing where they got all their technology from. It actually rises off of Earth and goes into space, and it gets all these huge crystals growing out of it and everything.
What?
And it turns out it's this thing called Septuagint. I can't really pronounce it, but it's basically if the Arrogators are the Balmany Empire, as they're actually called. They go around from planet to planet, and they cultivate soldiers from the planet, pretty much. Like, they send them technology, have them create it, and then they swoop in, and then they steal everything, and then use them as their own army. But if a species kind of defeats them,
Right.
just so they have the failsafe device, the Septuagint, who will wipe out the entire race. So it turns out it's piloted by this guy called Yusuf Gozo, who's like created Ingram, because Ingram's like a clone or something like that. There's lots of genetic engineering going on.
Right.
Anyway, so he's pretty much destroying everything, and he has the SRX trapped in it because it fell into the atmosphere, but he picked it up. So they can't do anything, but then Cobra shows up, and he tells Ingram like to get it together and stuff, and so he gives power to the SRX. The Astranagan is, if you watch episode 1, you see it and the Dis Astranagan fighting each other. They're like the shadowed out mechs. So Astranagan shows up, breaks through Septuagint, tosses the SRX out, and then Cobra talks to Ryuusei and says, "Oh, you guys can beat him, but you need my help here, and so I'm going to give you my power." And then the SRX transforms into the Die SRX, which is a merger of the SRX and the Dis Astranagan. So it uses this ultimate attack there called Einsolf R, and blows up Septuagint, and everybody else kind of chucks in and tosses, like fires at it, and big explosion, and SRX reverts to normal, and happy end.
Well, it sounds like a wild roller coaster ride, man.
Yeah, it does.
There was a DVD-only epilogue episode, but we don't really have time to talk about that. Overall, since I didn't finish watching Divine Wars, how do you think it fares as an adaptation of OG1?
Well, I know a lot of people have problems with it for numerous reasons. Like, the CG isn't that great, though I find it tolerable. And sometimes the animation has some pretty bad quality to it. So again, I don't really notice that kind of stuff. So a lot of people don't like it, but more people became accepting of it once it got going and it got into more of the major events. And so overall, like, I really liked it. I mean, I'm buying the damn thing. So I better have liked it.
I'd hope so.
But it might not be like stellar. It might not be like a masterpiece. It might not be talked about for years to come, but it's enjoyable, which is the reason I watch this kind of stuff, is just to enjoy myself. I don't need to see something deep or whatever, and if I don't enjoy it, then it's kind of lost on me. So overall, it was a lot of fun, especially some more like break episodes where they focus more on comedy. And that's one of the great things about the game, too, is just that, like, instead of reading through boring stories between each mission, it's just a fun ride, and they crack jokes all over the place and lots of in-jokes. And
Okay.
Especially with Excellent.
yeah, Excellent's a real card. She's cracking jokes all, like, every scene she's in, and she's always messing up Japanese idioms and stuff like that.
Personally, from what I saw of Divine Wars, yeah, the CG's not that great. I think it gets a lot better in the second half, like when they start heating up the war with the Divine Crusaders, and the animation does get better on. It does have some major lapses in quality at the beginning. It's pretty inconsistent. I always think about from way back in episode 2, like the buffed up muscular Ryuusei. Like he instantly, like they show him without he's in a sleeveless shirt and he's got these like massive muscles. It's like, wait a second, where the hell did this come from? I also think, from what I've seen of the games, it may be a lot to cram into just 26 episodes, but I think they do a pretty good job of hitting the major points. So to wrap this up quickly, let's hit up the OAV, which actually was produced before the TV show and is set after original Generation 2. Basically, it's sort of this guy who was pissed off that he lost his family during the war, and he has this mecha called the Bartol that is like the new unmanned mecha, but of course it goes crazy and there's a whole war, and these Bartols they have like zombie pilots in them, and his idea is to like merge humanity's consciousness all together like Ava, some sort of crazy thing like that. Briefly, I know you really like the series, Peter, so what are your thoughts on the OAV?
The OAV was actually packaged with the pre-order of the Japanese version of OG2.
Yeah.
So when you got the game, it came with the first episode. This was my first exposure to Super Robot Wars. I'd kind of heard about it beforehand. I knew it was like a mesh of a bunch of robot shows together and stuff. So when I was first watching the episode, I was like, when's Amuro going to show up? But so even though I didn't have any idea of the backstories or anything, like the robots looked cool. It's like, okay, I'll give this a shot. And I watched it, and I enjoyed it. It was just robots kicking some ass. And
yeah, it was also my first exposure to Super Robot Wars, and I enjoyed it too. A lot of people say like, oh, if you don't play the game, you don't understand anything, and that's probably true, but I hadn't even started playing the games yet when I saw the OAV, and I didn't really have much trouble following the story. Yeah, there's a lot of characters, and only, and some of them like Zanger and Elzum, they only get like brief cameos, but you get a basic idea for how things go, and you can follow it. You may not understand every detail, but I think it's enjoyable even if you've not had any prior exposure to the games. Now, how does it... I know they retconned some parts of the OAV when they released original generations on the PS2, so what did they do there?
The basic story is more or less the same, where you got Jurgen there, and he wants to make it so humanity's all one thing, and then the Bartols are flying around and protecting us from whatever aliens come around. And though they added a lot more stuff, like this mech called the Moronga, which is the prototype of the Bartol, and so those are flying around too, so it's not just the Bartol. And pretty much the same thing, like Lamia gets captured, and so do the school kids, and then they go to Hellgate to fight them, and they save them, get them back and stuff, and you got more of your mechs there instead of just the ones that show up in the OVA instead. But the major things came at the end there, where instead of piloting a crystal see-through version of the Bartol, Jurgen's actually piloting this mech called the Valzion Custom Type CF, which is a mass-produced Valzion. And although that particular model wasn't mass-produced, it was supposed to be. Anyways, in the OVA, Kyosuke saves Lamia, and she gets taken back to the Agane, but in the game, Jurgen shows up and blasts her out of the Altaisen's hand when he was holding her.
Ooh.
So she's presumed dead. She was written off as MIA. And then after you reduce Jurgen's HP down, this event happens where Duminus, which is the main villain of Super Robot Wars R, she shows up, and then she kills him instead, because apparently she was helping him out, but she's like, "Guy, you served your purpose, I don't need you anymore." So she kills him, and then the Shura, which are this race of, think of them kind of like the Saiyans from Dragon Ball Z, where they just kind of show up, and they like fighting people and stuff with their robots. So the Shura show up, and then you have the R villains and the R protagonists, and that leads in the original Generations Gaiden, which incorporates 2.5, which is what the OVA was. So that's in there, and then you have, and it goes on, and you fight Duminus and the Shura, and then you get Shura to come to your side, and then Dark Brain, which is the pure, unadulterated evil, shows up, and he's like the second final boss, and then Shu shows up at the end, and he transforms into Neo Grandzon, which is more powerful Grandzon, then you fight him and then end up killing him. And so that's original Generations Gaiden, which was released not too long ago.
Yeah, and then finally to wrap this up, we got coming out pretty soon on the DS this new game, SRW OG Saga, Endless Frontier. So that's something to look forward to in this franchise. So I think we've pretty much covered everything. Peter, any closing thoughts on the anime or the games franchise as a whole?
Just great stuff. I mean, you appreciate it more if you're into the whole giant robot genre, and then you'll get a lot more of the in-jokes.
Right.
Like there was this one hilarious one in OG2 where they almost said Red Comet, but like, hey, you're going to get us in trouble.
That's funny.
Yes, I've seen that one. Speaking of OG2, would you be looking forward to if they ever did an anime adaptation of that?
Oh yeah, definitely. As I said, OG2 is better than OG1 in every single facet, especially the story. So I don't think they would never be able to fit it in 26 episodes, because whereas OG1 you just have the Divine Wars and the Arrogators, in OG2 you have the new Divine Crusaders, the Shadow Mirrors, the Inspectors, and the Ainz. So they're fighting them all at pretty much the same time. So it has a lot more to it, and it's a lot less, they have more or less just random missions that don't really mean anything. So it's a lot,
Wow.
everything's a lot more meaningful in OG2 than it is in OG1. So they definitely need more episodes.
Yeah. Well, personally, I'm going to be collecting the TV show once the price goes down, and I'm right in the middle of playing OG1 on X-Root. So here's hoping Atlas or Bandai please release Original Generations on PS2 and Original Generation Gaiden, and maybe Endless Frontier on DS, please. I'd like to play them. Adam, Paul, any thoughts on OG? You guys looking forward to maybe playing some more games or checking out that anime?
It's a lot of stuff, I can say that much.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
Yes, it is. It is a lot of stuff.
I really have to hunt it down.
Yeah.
I did hear I do see a lot more Japanese imports coming through to the PS2, so it might be a good chance. Atlas might bring it, or they're bringing Arcana Heart, so I'm assuming they probably will bring Original Generation on the PS2 sometime soon. Hopefully.
So.
Here's hoping. Yeah.
So for now we have the GBA games, and so those are a great play.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they are great. They are definitely great. So I recommend that to anybody.
I would definitely hunt those down.
And of course, we'll be talking in the future about Alpha and the original classic timeline and all these other things. So we'll definitely be hitting up Super Robot Wars again in the near future. Again, I'd like to thank Peter for joining us for this segment and giving us his Super Robot Wars expertise. We'll be having him back to talk about some other shows as well as Super Robot Wars. And maybe we'll even talk about the mediocre Psybuster.
Or not.
Or not. So that's it for this segment, and we'll be right back on Gundamn at MAHQ.
You think you're the best? I hope you are. A Gundam mobile suit is a fully articulated, fully equipped machine, armed with the most sophisticated weaponry known to man. To be a complete Gundam pilot, you must train on both Gundam systems. Believe me, gentlemen, to beat the best, you have to be the best.